could you? I thought you were my friend. I trusted you.
Well, fans of a classic and well-loved property are about to attend yet another adaptation dance party. That's right, everybody. Get on down on the floor and do the Bohica Shuffle, because Netflix's Avatar looks to be FUBAR. Yes, I do have military experience. I was a colonel. Tank Division. Alright, so this week we got not one, but two pieces of horribly troubling news about the upcoming Last Airbender live action on Netflix. One, that the showrunner wants it to appeal to Game of Thrones fans.
Oh shit, here we go again.
And two, that they will be toning down the sexism, especially coming from Sokka. Now look, I'm going to be upfront with you. I'm not trying to pass myself off as like a longtime fan. I just finished the whole thing for the first time this year. And I freaking loved it! I'm gonna do like a whole late review. It's so good, you guys. Now, what concerns me about this news is that it signals that the showrunners, A, don't understand how character arcs work, and B, don't understand how Avatar works. Let's just dig in, yeah? Real quick, if you could just bash that like button like it's a cart full of cabbage, that would be excellent. Alright, which end of this turd are we gonna try to pick up first? Heads. Lovely. Game of Thrones. Game of Thrones is maybe the worst thing to happen to fantasy television since... I can't think of anything worse. It was a smash hit golden egg for HBO, and now every TV producer is Veruca Salt.
I want one! I want a golden goose!
Let's get an F in the chat for Wheel of Time, a fabulous book series that Amazon tried to Thronesify. Hey, let's make it overly dark and serious and everybody shtupping all the time for no reason, especially Alana. Anderson?
This bitch.
It was good, but I don't feel like the point has been adequately made. Ben?
You bitch.
Better. So now anytime a show has a medieval setting or some kind of magic element, a studio exec will inevitably bust through the wall like the damn Kool-Aid Man and ask the burning question: how can we appeal to Game of Thrones fans? It's like a bad Doofenshmirtz plot. I call it the Thronesinator. It makes everything in the tri-state area just like my favorite show, Game of Thrones. Barry the Platypus, what are your thoughts on Season 8? What's especially heinous about this particular Thronesification is the comment made by showrunner Albert Kim. He described the show as a remix, not a cover, and that the team knew going in that it couldn't just be for kids.
I've contained my rage for as long as possible.
Just because it's animation, that does not mean it's for kids! Woosa. Drink the tea, what would Iro say? Okay, so I have a real pet peeve for Hollywood thinking that animation is for kids. The original Avatar has writing that is more mature and nuanced than 98% of the adult shows that I have seen in the last decade. There is more heart and emotion in this cartoon. I have a lot of pet peeves. I have another pet peeve about people who arbitrarily assign certain things to being for kids and then avoiding them on purpose, and they think that they're more mature for doing so, when in reality, you could not look more childish by trying so hard to appear grown up. Now, in this same article, they said they shot scenes multiple times in varying degrees of silliness, so they had options for the tone later. Avatar, especially the first season, is a very silly show. The showrunner acknowledges that the second and third season are more serious in tone, so I guess they want to, update the first season to match them? Except that is almost willfully missing the point. It's so obviously stupid. The first season, being light and silly, is the whole point. At first, the stakes are low. Yeah, there is a war going on, but it's kind of in the background. It's been that way for quite some time. It's a bit of a stalemate. So, it's a light and breezy journey. I'm just going to be the Avatar, restore the balance of the world, no problem. Yeah, we got this angsty kid and his jolly uncle following us, but nothing seems to be very serious. This article details how they want to focus on the more serious aspects of the journey and don't want distractions like Aang riding Elephant Koi or, I guess, riding bricks with Boomy. Straight to the point we're getting. Of course, this misses the entire point of the original show and will affect the power scaling and character development for Aang, but whatever. It's not until we are informed that the war is actually about to come to a fiery end very soon that the tone of the show begins to shift. The tone of the show shifts naturally with the characters as they learn of the seriousness of the threat. However, the original writers also understood that children can only be so serious even when there is imminent danger, or even though we are already 10 minutes late and they're still getting their shoes on.
By all means, move at a glacial pace. You know how that thrills me.
Now, to add to the adultness of it, we're going to show the genocide of the Airbenders and the rise of the Fire Nation, something that was only alluded to in the show. Kind of sounds like a big budget, empty spectacle. I can't wait. I'm so excited. The original show understood balance, which I fear the Netflix crew does not. Something else they don't seem to understand is character development, especially with Sokka and probably Katara as well. Yes, the actors involved said they cut a lot of the sexism because many of the moments were iffy. Hold on, it gets worse, because you're thinking, his growth comes from his sexist attitude being appropriately shamed, but the writers thought of that. Instead, they're going to grow him from his trauma of his father leaving.
Oh, you almost had it.
Okay, so we've got some very serious character issues here. First, the sexism is a key part of Sokka's character because he has an overinflated ego. He's ashamed that he wasn't chosen to go to war, and he wants to be the toughest warrior. Both his sexism and his ego get popped very early on in the show when the women warriors of Kyoshi Island give him a beatdown and make him wear makeup and a dress. Now, he does gain a little respect for women, but really, this precipitates a downward spiral for him. He doesn't have bending powers. He's not the mighty warrior that he pictured in his mind, so he begins to feel kind of useless. From this low point, he's able to be built back up into a leader who respects his team. Also, he's the comic relief when his bravado bubble gets popped over and over. The sexism is immediately shown as a character flaw. Saying the show shouldn't have sexism because it's iffy is like saying Schindler's List is iffy because there's anti-Semitism. I'm thinking about doing a remake of American History X, but I don't know, some of the racism is a little iffy. I'm thinking about redoing Debbie Does Dallas, but I'm wondering if some of the nudity isn't a little iffy? Yes, iffy, that's what I was gonna say. But let's take a look at this cool new clever direction they want to take to achieve the exact same character growth that was already achieved in the original show, but they want to be different because reasons. Sokka did not have trauma from his dad leaving. He had shame, which led to the sexism as a coping mechanism. He wanted to prove how manly he was and developed the exaggerated masculinity that is so common amongst boys with no father figure. This show did an incredible job of showing the gulf between acting manly and acting like a man. Katara had trauma from her dad leaving and her mom dying. That is her storyline. I'm sorry, did we watch different shows, Mr. Kim and I? Did Sokka not state explicitly that he doesn't even remember his own mom and sees Katara as a mother figure? What trauma? He had a mom/sister. So we're gonna make up a story for Sokka when he already had one, and we're going to steal from Katara, which makes me wonder, how are we gonna handle Katara? Did you guess girl boss? With Netflix, you have like a 94% chance of being right anytime you guess that. This article was talking about Sokka's sexism, but if they are massively mucking up the manuscript with a misogyny machete, I imagine this fella is gonna get reworked. That's Pakku, the master waterbender of the Northern Water Tribe, who Aang needs to learn waterbending, but he doesn't teach women. In the original, Katara tells him to put his hydrogen dioxide where his mouth is and challenges him for the right to learn, and then promptly gets her ass handed to her because, as has been established, he is a master and she is a kid. However, as luck would have it, her grandmother was arranged to marry Pakku, and he was excited and in love. But he was obviously a curmudgeon even as a young man, and she fled the tribe just to get away from him. Next to faking her death and changing teams entirely, moving across the world to get away from you is pretty high on the list of things that will hurt your self-esteem as a man. Once again, this kid show handles the idea of casual sexism in a mature way, and Pakku realizes that being stuck in his ways has cost him, and also recognizes Katara's determination even when facing him, a superior opponent. He sees the errors in his judgment and makes a change the next day by inviting Katara to train. Kind of feels like some of these storylines don't work without the underlying sexism that the show cleverly speaks against. Even Azula's villain origin is shown to involve her rebellion against her assumed gender role by her uncle and probably most of Fire Society. My guess is that the messaging just wasn't obvious enough for Netflix, and we're probably going to get social commentary that has all the nuance and charm of a wrecking ball. Paku will likely tell her to make him a sandwich, but will submit appropriately when dressed down publicly by the clearly superior Katara. What do you think? How bad will this remix be? What other things do you think they're going to change? Let me know down below. And if you're interested in a review of a good Netflix adaptation, this normie watched the live-action One Piece without any prior knowledge, and I talk about it right here. As always, I appreciate you watching, and I'll see you next time.